Hello, welcome back to my channel, Audiobooks. Today we're diving straight into my February TBR. I love making these lists because if you've been following my channel, you know that I love making a list. Don't always stick to it, but that's a story for another time. So my February TBR has mainly 6 books, but it has like a couple extra ones that I would maybe like to. Anyway, we'll get to that. So the main 6 ones include 2 that have been pushed over from the January TBR. And that's because I ended up reading more than 7 books in January. I read 5 that were on my list, and there were 2 that I didn't get to because so many more got added to the list. Like, for example, a couple of my library hold came in for the Costa Book Award winners, so I read those. Anyway, the first book is The First Woman by Nansubuga Makumbi. I did start this one in January. I read a couple chapters, like I'm about 50 pages in or something. And it's really good. Like, I'm really enjoying the writing, and I feel like I really pulled into the story, and it was like a bit sad that I had to put it down to read all the other books, but I'll try to get back to this in February. Yeah, I'm really enjoying the writing. The main character is a little untitled at the beginning, so I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes. And yeah, diving more into it. The next book that was on my January TBR that's now in February is One Winter Morning by Isabelle Broom. I've mentioned Broom a couple times because I really do enjoy her writing. I've read quite a lot of her books, and I'm kind of hoping to get to a point where I read all of her books out. And she's very much like it's escapist romance. Like, all her books are in different countries, and this one follows it's a woman who wants to find out the identity of her birth mother, and that kind of leads her to New Zealand. So this is where this is going to be set, I'm guessing. But yeah, there's always like a big family secret and always like a romance as well. So I'm looking forward to all of the usual stuff by Broom, and I think that'll be really nice to just have a light read. It's quite short, I think. And her reads are usually really quick, like for me, like in a day or 2 or something, because it reads really quickly. I think the beginning of the month in February will be a bit slower for me because I have like an exam to pass for my citizenship, so I'll be focusing on studying for that, and then I think I'll be like reading, especially this one. I think probably the night of coming back from that, I'll dive into something light and lovely. Another winter themed book is Winter by Ali Smith. So this is part of the seasonal quartet that she wrote. Technically you should start with autumn, and then comes winter. So I read autumn, I've always said I read it in the spring. Like, I just picked up my first Ali Smith, and I really enjoyed it. It's very topical, very political, especially for those living in Britain. And I looked forward to winter, but I thought I'd keep it for the season. So I think maybe February is gonna be a good month. So yeah, we'll see how the month goes. My French book of the month is gonna be Stupeur et tremblement, or Fear and Trembling by Amelie Nothomb, who's a kind of Belgian writer. Her books are really short, and I don't know if you can see how large the writing is. So I think this will be like a quick one to read, because I was looking for like a shorter book to read in February in French. But I need to tackle some of my larger French books. We'll see when that comes. But yeah, so that's the one that I'm hoping to read in February, because if you know, if you've seen my kind of goals for 2022, I want to read like at least 1 French book a month. So that was it. And the last 2 books that are like on my main TBR for February are the classics, because I want to read 22 classics in 2022. That's why I picked that number. And I think that I need to read like 2 a month or something. Anyway, I've picked 2 that I'm hoping to get to. The first one is Wuthering by Emily Bronte. I read Jane Eyre during Victober last year, so I really want to continue with the Bronte sisters writing. And yeah, I thought that the next one, I'm going to go in the order of publications, and the next one I think is Wuthering Heights, so I'm going to get to that. I'm really excited. I've literally not seen a movie. I've not read anything. Like, I don't know really what it's about. I feel like Heathcliff is in this. I mean, I don't really know. But yeah, I look forward to it. And the other classic book I want to get to is Night and Day by Virginia Woolf. I don't know anything about this book. So I'm reading all of Woolf's novels this year. So I read The Voyage Out in January, and I want to get to her next, like in terms of publication. I'm reading it in publication year as well. The next one is Night and Day. Don't know anything about it, didn't know anything about the voyage out really, so I'm continuing with that and just gonna take it, you know, as it comes. It'll be fine. So yeah, so 6 books, that's quite exciting. I have also 2 kind of wishes, like if I get to them, then that'll be great. I got 2 audiobooks from my library that are coming in. The first is The Confessions of Frannie Langton by Sarah Collins. I was reminded that this was on my TBR and I really wanted to read it and I'd forgotten somehow, by, I think it was Deborah from Booking with Deborah. I saw her on her, it may have been like a best books of 2021. But anyway, I got reminded that I wanted to read it, so I ordered it from the library app and it's coming in, so I want to listen to that audiobook. And the other one is The Lost Child by Caryl Phillips. I don't know how, but anyway, I was Googling over the last few weeks authors from the Caribbean, and I was kind of Googling specific countries that I didn't think that I'd heard authors like from there. So I was trying to find authors from those islands, and I fell upon Caryl Phillips. And he's from St. Kitts and Nevis, and I'd never heard of him, but I heard excellent thing about The Lost Child, and I think maybe that's a really good time to read it after I've read Wuthering Heights, is that I think it's like keeping in the vein of Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte, so I think that would be a really great kind of tie-in, because yeah, it says it's reimagining Emily Bronte's Wuthering Heights, weaving in like past and present stories of exiles, and I'm hoping you'll have a bit of like that post-colonial like criticism of like classic texts, but I was kind of like really excited and I found it in my library app as well. So yeah, so I'll be hopefully getting to that. I'll see where I get to with Wuthering Heights because I want to read this one afterwards, so we'll see, but very exciting. And finally, the last 4 books on my list are arcs that I'd like to finish. So I started a couple of them. I'm trying to get through like mine and Galley arcs like in order. I'm trying to not just go with the mood, I'm trying to actually get them read and reviewed and done. I don't have that many. I think I have 10 or 12 that need to be read, so I want to finish 4 in February, and they're all coming out in February, so I think that'd be really good time. The first one is A Letter to 3 Witches by Elizabeth Bass. I'm almost halfway through that one, so I don't think it'll be very long to finish it. It's giving me like witchy coffee vibe, and if you've seen my very short review of that book, it was not great literature. It has a mysterious witch vibe, although everyone's like, oh no, they know there's not really magic, but everyone's like a witch. Anyway, I'm only halfway through. We'll see. It's fun, you know, enjoying it in that regard. Next is Mrs. Death by Salena Godden. This one I've only started, and it started very mysteriously and really well written and cheeky and quirky, and I love it. So this is technically about Mrs. Death herself, and she basically is telling her memoirs to be written by this young writer that she meets, and he becomes like her scribe. And yeah, I think it's quite short, and I've started it, so another one that I think I'll be able to get to. The third arc that I'd like to finish is Never Work with Animals by Gareth Steele. This is a nonfiction kind of memoir or text by a veterinarian, so we follow him. It starts really harsh, and I think that's the point, and that's why it says Never Work with Animals. It's like the warnings on it in the title. It's we follow him as he starts his job as a vet in Northern Ireland, and it starts really brutal with him having to put down a bull at a farm because he got hurt. It's his like first day on the job, whatever, and he has to put it down, and he's just like, okay, that's not what I signed up for when I wanted to become a vet. So I think it's a really interesting. I've never wanted to be a vet. I'm not like that good with animals, so that's not something that I ever dream. Like loads of kids dream to be vets, I think, but I wanted to get like, again, it's continuing in my like reading different professions and different like perspective and jobs and backgrounds, and this is really interesting, especially having read like stories by doctors like with humans. So this is like my first thing that I read by a vet, and up to now it's been really good, very like truthful and real, and I'm enjoying that up to now. And finally, the last one is Meet Me in the Margins by Melissa Ferguson. This is the only one I've not started yet, so I had to read a little bit what it's about. Uh, I requested it on NetGalley, and I think it's because it says the tagline was "You've Got Mail" meets The Proposal. Love both those things, so I was like sold. It follows basically an editor at a publishing house. Relatable, love it, great. And she wrote a manuscript for a romance, and I think she tries to hide it somewhere in the building of the publishing house. And at some point when she goes to get it back, she finds notes in the margins. So I think that that's how the story developed, and she's hoping to kind of give it for publication, even though like her publishing house is like very serious, only serious work of fiction or whatever. So I think that'll be a fun read, like a fun romance. I do like books about authors, books about editors. So I think this is kind of straight up in my alley. And yes, I think I feel almost out of breath. But these were I think that's 12. Yes, 12 books. Okay. Yeah, so I told myself that I would do shorter TBRs this year. That didn't quite happen. I guess that's why I'm like pretending that really the first 6 books are my real TBR. But let's be honest, I really think that I'll be able to finish the 4 arcs. Maybe they'll even take precedence over some of the other books that I've mentioned. A couple of them are audiobooks, which I think I can get to like at least 3 a month. So, I think it's feasible. I think the classics is where I might stumble because they're usually very long and they're like a bit slower to read. Like Virginia Woolf in January took me a long time. So yes, we'll see. But let's pretend there's only 6 books on my TBR. And everything else is, I hope I'll get to that. And then we'll, at the February wrap up and March TBR, we can kind of reassess and see if I've pushed some books again back into March, or we'll see. Come back for that, please. Especially if you like my content, this is like a perfect wee reminder to tell you to please, if you enjoy my content, to leave a little thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe if you're not subscribed already. I post a video at least every week, and I really appreciate everyone's support. So thank you so much for watching and getting to the end of this video, and hey, see you back. Bye.